welcome to Inside Edition to discuss national, regional and international issues in depth. In another remarkable achievement accomplished by pioneering Bahraini women, the Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry's board member Sonia Janahi has been elected unopposed as International Labour Organization, the ILO, alternate member to represent West Asian Business Group for a 3-year term from 2021 till 2024. She won the majority of votes of the ILO member states, which took part in the election process during the coordination meeting of Arab business owners in West Asian countries, which was held earlier this week. To know more about that, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and Industry's board member, Sonia Janahi. First off, thank you, Ms. Sonia, for joining us and answering our questions and agreeing to this interview. First, we would like to congratulate you on becoming the first Arab businesswoman to feature in the ILO board. Can you tell us more about such remarkable achievements and what are the exerted efforts that led to it?
Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to be with you on this interview today, and thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Well, this is an issue that we started working on since 2018, when I started attending the ILO meetings and presenting Bahrain's paper and the main sessions. And we basically strategized everything with the chairman of the Bahrain Chamber and with the board members on how to position me as being the first Bahraini woman as a deputy chair for the governing body of the ILO. And it was honestly amazing how not only did I get the positive reaction from my colleagues in the boards in the Bahrain Chamber, but also from colleagues in most Arab countries, majority of them. The fact that when they realized and they found out that there is a woman that's interested in this, position and being a board member was something that they immediately, without doubt, welcomed and appreciated. And they themselves focused on it. And I had the support of the main board member, who is Khalifa Mar, and he's from the UAE. Unbelievable support was received from him, unbelievable support from Samir Nasser, the chairman of the Bahrain Chamber. The lobbying that was done, and honestly, I owe my appreciation also to the team in the chamber that worked non-stop for the last, I could say 24 months. Because of COVID, the issue was also delayed, so that gave us more time. But the lobbying, the talking, speaking to the other countries and ensuring that we have the votes and then following up on the issue. So it was quite an interesting journey for me. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I enjoyed how open the Arab people are to see the progression of women. And see women in the highest possible positions, and honestly, that was beyond any my personal imagination, really, and that's really how it all happened.
In a speech, His Majesty the King said, it is a matter of pride that Bahraini women today exceed the traditional stages of empowerment to reach the higher status they now enjoy, as they represent a high percentage of the country's public and private sector employees. How do you value such valuable pride and royal trust in Bahraini women's role and efforts?
As a Bahraini woman, I always felt empowered. I always felt that the sky is the limit for me, whether I was an employee in my early stages of life or I was an employer and a business owner. I never felt at any stage that being a woman was a drawback or was a negative issue. On the contrary, even when I was an employee and I worked in two of the biggest institutions like Betelco and BBK, the competition was never against a man. The competition for me was always against the best, and the best was in many cases another woman, even not necessarily a man. I never sensed that reluctance that what would people think if I go for this position, or if I want to take this job being a woman. Absolutely, that point never crossed my mind. And thanks to His Majesty and Her Royal Highness Princess Sabika for giving us this confidence as Bahraini women to feel that we can, we're empowered enough that we can do anything we want. If there is an initiative that we want to foresee, we can go for it. You know, and I don't think that's just with me. It's with every Bahraini woman that I have met. And that's the general feeling, of power, of progression. And I think Bahraini women have gone today beyond even empowerment because of how the government has aligned the interests of both men and women in this country. And there's always been gender equality. We've never had situations where a woman is paid less than a man. In fact, the population, 49% of the population is women. And that shows you how the government is keen on, and their leadership, wise leadership, on elevating and progressing women to the highest possible level, has given every woman, and including myself, that confidence to go for anything I dream of, without hesitation, without thinking twice. Having the Supreme Council for Women, which was established in 2001, is a bonus for every Bahraini woman, because it's like having this body that not just takes care of you, that ensures that legislations are amended, that ensures that when new legislations are coming out, they basically review it and make sure that the women's rights are protected. And giving us that empowerment to play a role in public life is what the Supreme Council is doing today. Their involvement, in terms of women in many things, be it even the government sector. Today, you have in both the representatives house and the shura house, you have women representative. The fact that Bahraini women have 1st of December of every year as the Bahraini Women's Day is it's a recognition beyond imagination. And Her Royal Highness Princess Sibika did this initiative. This shows how the leadership of this country is proud of every woman in this country, that they have designated a day to celebrate us. And that by itself tells you a lot about Bahraini women and what they can achieve in Bahrain.
Yes, the constant empowerment from the government and their support always show the motivations for the people and for the women that try to work harder in these fields. How do you value the constant governmental support, as well as the Supreme Council for Women, the SCW, shared by Her Royal Highness Princess Sibika bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa's commitment toward Bahraini women's empowerment?
Today, we do have 3 board members that are women on the board. We're looking forward, hopefully next year, with the new election, that we'd have more women. And public sector, today 50% of the employees are women, but private sector, there is a slight shortfall where only roughly, I think, about 35% of the workforce are women. When it comes to boards, again, there is plenty of room for us to develop. One of the things, and it starts at home, which I call the Bahrain Chamber. Bahrain Chamber is the entity that guides the business community, and the support that the chamber has given me, starting from the chairman, Mr. Samir Nas, and every other single member, in terms of giving me the authority to review the committees that we had and how to restructure the entire committees. Previously, we had 24 committees who were basically firefighters. You have a problem, you go to the chamber, they create a committee. Were they efficient? We haven't seen many results. We haven't seen many solutions to these problems. One of the things that I worked with the team that was working with me, is to focus on key sectors that are non-oil sectors that will add value to the economy, that will ensure the government's Vision 2030 will be met. And based on this, we restructured from 24 to 28 committees to 10 committees, and focusing primarily on all sectors without focusing on the oil sector, because one of the drives that we have is to ensure that Bahrain is not oil dependent. And this is where, as a chamber, it is important that we emphasize this role. And I was given the authority not only to restructure the committees, but also head the steering group, where I basically sit with all the chairmen and chairwomen of the 10 committees, And the idea is to bring them together to work together, because today we are in a global situation where there is no fine line between a sector. Every sector requires technology, every sector requires education, every sector requires even health should be part of it, and every sector requires tourism. Tourism is part of it. Tourism can be education related, can be health related, can be industrially related as well. And it is here that we basically create that magic of bringing these professionals that each represents their specific sectors to talk with the other sectors and to work together to create that efficient economic system where they basically complement each other. I always had this dream of competitive collaboration, and I was given this opportunity to work in the chamber with the committees to create this synergy of different sectors working together. And this proves to you how the chamber respects ideas regardless of what's your gender. And because I had this idea of how to restructure, they listened to me, they understood, they appreciated, and they gave me the green light, and supported me, not just gave me the green light, supported me in achieving success stories. Today, annually, we have the annual committees conference. It was a dream when we restructured the committees that we reach a day that the recommendations from these committees are discussed or reach the Prime Minister's cabinet. This year we were lucky and it did. And today the Minister of Commerce is foreseeing all the recommendations that came out of the committees that affect all these 10 sectors to ensure effective implementation. You know, when we basically see these reactions from the government sector, we see these reactions from the team at the board, this shows you that it's all about what you want to achieve, what change you want to create, and nobody's going to stop you. And on the contrary, anybody who has an amazing vision of supporting this country, supporting the organization that they relate to, supporting and development of the manpower, nobody's going to stop you in Bahrain. The current economic challenges is something that's hitting globally, every country, every organization, every sector. My sector specifically is F&B and hospitality, and it is one of the sectors that was most affected, and not just within Bahrain, but every country in the world. But again, the way we handle the situation by being creative, by focusing on sustainability rather than trying to act smart and trying to basically enhance our revenue and trying to get into new lines was what made it work. One of the 50% of my team are Bahrainis, and the other 50% have been with me for a very long time. One of the things that I do is that I share with my employees, and this is at every single level, regardless of what status of what position they hold. I share with them my concerns, my fears, my vision, and I help them or push them to be bold, to speak their mind, to speak their thoughts. And you would be surprised how creative they are, how initiative they are. Most of the ideas that I have worked on today and has created success stories for me is actually ideas that came from my team. It's not a one woman or one man show. It's teamwork at the end of the day. And when you bring your team together and create that ambience where they can speak their mind and they feel comfortable saying if they think something will not work, it gives you that power to overcome even a situation as is in the case of COVID. The other issue is, of course, the government, the support that they've given us is unbelievable. Paying the salaries of the Bahraini employees, waiving the installments of the loans with the banks, and many other support schemes. Temkeen has played a major role. All these initiatives that the government has put into perspective has certainly supported the entire economy, even the sectors that have been affected tremendously, to overcome or ride this negative wave and try to sustain the business model. The issue since COVID started is about sustainability. It's not about basically creating revenues or getting into new areas, but mainly focusing on sustainability and ensuring that you ride this wave with the minor possible damages, and hopefully once things go or start to go back to normal, we can then expand and elaborate on our business models. And it's been okay, and even though it's been hectic, it's been scary at many times, but also we have learned. We've learned a lot. We've learned that technology plays a major role in everything we do. We've learned that customer care comes, in different ways that you can handle. We've learned in terms of being creative with how we package our products, the information that we put, because a lot of the things that we did had to be delivered to our customer bases. So how you package it, how you address it, how you position it, how you add the information that's needed. And we learned these things overnight and had to run to make sure that we sustain the model. But again, if it wasn't for the government support, if it wasn't for the initiative of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and all the achievements and support schemes that they created for us, it would have been a very difficult time for us. But thank God we are in a country that the government does put the public's interest as number one, and this COVID situation has definitely proved that. And we have come today to a situation with as minor possible damages as we can.
One of the things that we know is that the ILO is not a local organization. It is an international organization, and that it's been here and it's been cooperating with Bahrain for years. In particular, the cooperation between the kingdom and the ILO started since it became a member in 1977. How do you value such long years of collaboration, and how do you assess its success?
The relationship has resulted in very close cooperation between our leadership in the Kingdom of Bahrain and the International Labour Organization, ILO. And as you rightly said, it goes way before. Before me, we had Mr. Uthman Sharif, who was also a board member at the Bahrain Chamber, and he was also a member at the governing body of the ILO. Um, uh, there were a number of issues that we worked on with the ILO, and one of them was the file of the dismissed workers and the support and the openness that the Bahrain government had in terms of resolving the cases for a win-win situation was what impressed the ILO, and even enhanced and strengthened the relationship between the ILO and the government of Bahrain. It proved that Bahrain has an open system. Bahrain has a system for dialogue, and we are ready to discuss and sit at the table and discuss and intervene and reach a conclusion that supports every citizen. And this is basically how the cooperation even got stronger, and the trust of the ILO got stronger and more effective when it comes to the Kingdom of Bahrain.
In 2010, Bahrain became the first country in the Gulf region to agree to a 3-year Decent Work Country Program, DWCP, the ILO's main vehicle for delivery of support to countries. How do you value such initiatives, and how it contributed, along with other initiatives, of course, as you have mentioned, to the constant progress of labor market in the kingdom?
This clearly expresses the joint commitment of our esteemed government and the social partners to ensure opportunities to obtain decent and productive work in conditions of freedom, equity, security, and human dignity. The initiative, of course, resulted in creating a model legislation and supported the laws of the Kingdom of Bahrain, and focused primarily on and showed how Bahrain is focused on protecting the work and workers. And of course, as you rightly said, this made Bahrain as a role model, not just for itself, but even for other Arab countries, because ILO clearly saw that the legislation system that the Bahrain government has put in place does put, first of all, the priorities of the workers And this was clearly observed by them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. But also, on the other hand, Bahrain has launched several initiatives in accordance with the ILO's indicators that cover the requirements of the Sustainable Development Goals indexes. Can you tell us more about that?
See, when it comes to indexes, Bahrain is always looking at the indexes to ensure that we are either in line with them or we are ahead of the indexes. This is very important if you want to put any country on a global platform. Bahrain today is a country that is known. It's known for its women progression. It's known for how His Royal Highness handled the situation of the COVID with the steering committee team, and how they were ahead of the situation in terms of controlling the pandemic without having 100% lockdown like most countries did globally. Their initiative, their direction, their involvement into all these issues has put Bahrain in a situation that, in terms of taking confident steps towards not just achieving the indices and being, ranked high when it comes to the indices, but also in outperforming many countries, and to ensure that it achieves the best positive possible results, to place Bahrain in a rank that would be recognized globally. And this is how we even enhance the position of the country for FDIs, for foreign direct investment. When foreign direct investment is target for any country, and indices are one of the things we look at, and where does Bahrain fall when it comes to these indices? And this is the encouraging tool that gives that confidence to any FDI to consider Bahrain as a destination to come and settle in Bahrain.
Fabulous. The indexes are important and they're different from country to country and also from region to region. But my next question, my last question to you is, Ms. Sonia, Bahrain, like so many other countries, is now in a different phase of the pandemic, the recovery phase. More people are vaccinated, structured systems are put in place, such as the students returning to schools and the COVID-19 traffic light system. What do you foresee for Bahrain in these upcoming phase?
Bahrain has definitely been a leader and a role model when it comes to vaccination. There was no prerequisites or conditions. Whether you're a Bahraini or you're not a Bahraini was not even a point that was discussed or taken into perspective. A lot of my colleagues in different parts of the country are surprised at how fast we all, not only did we get the first and second vaccination, we even managed to get the booster, as a complement to ensure the safety of the public. I foresee that with the directions of His Royal Highness and the way he is strategizing the opening up of the country, I believe that we will go back, inshallah, to normal. It will take time, but at least there is a vision. There is a strategy. And the way he has adopted it, the way he is controlling it, the way he is transparent when it comes to the numbers of cases, and numbers of critical cases, and you can, and from day one we had this all up on an app, and we could see it. This proves how efficiently the country is run and how dynamically the country is run, that even though we are in a situation where the globe was disrupted, not just Bahrain, we still managed to control things without disrupting businesses 100%. Yes, we did have lockdowns for some sectors, but nevertheless, these sectors received support. These sectors received backup. These sectors were given an opportunity to revamp themselves and restructure themselves and sustain their models and come back. So going forward, I believe the indication is positive. I can see that a lot of people have started new businesses in spite of the pandemic, which shows you that, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel, which shows you that people do believe in Bahrain, that people have faith and confidence in the government, their initiatives, their directions, and the future. If they didn't have this, you would not have seen so many new businesses, startups coming up, and SMEs represent a big percentage of the business sectors in Bahrain, and to see new businesses come to light in spite of a pandemic, in spite of semi closed down or lockdown, it's very interesting, but it also shows the confidence that the government, through their wise decisions, have created, that have given the public that percent that things will be okay, things will go back to normal, and we can manage this, and we can jointly manage this, and hopefully come out of it with the least possible damages as we can.
Thank you for being with us today, and thank you for watching, and see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.